Rise and shine. It's time to get the day started with the morning show of record for the Homestead community. It is the Farm2Table Direct Show, morning edition. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome in, especially to all the morning crew. Glad to have you all in with us, and I hope your day is off to a great start. Good morning, Robbie with the Wild Huckleberry. Glad to see you in first thing this morning. Uh, do apologize for not getting the title out a little sooner, so maybe some notifications are a bit delayed. But of course, most of y'all know by now, 6 a.m. Monday through Friday, recorded or not. Uh, today's today's episode. Hey, good morning, Clyde. Will you drive safe? Now, listen, you be safe out there. Both hands on the wheel now. Or well, one holding a cup of coffee and one driving, right? But anyway, today's topic: under attack. Who's the target and why? Good morning, Ed Kirkpatrick. Glad to have you in this morning, buddy. Uh, Glad to see you all up and about, and I hope y'all's weather is doing great. Ours is phenomenal out here. We are heading to a high of, see, it's 52, heading to a high of 77 right now, which is absolutely awesome. Loving this. Enjoyed the spring weather yesterday. Little nippy in the morning, warm in the afternoon. But speaking of weather, let's check in with Dyer Family Farm for the Redneck Weather Report.
Good morning, rednecks. It is 50 degrees, March the 12th, 2025. We got an 8-mile-an-hour south wind, but it still feels like 50 degrees. But get this, we're going to get to 81 today. God bless y'all. We'll see you again tomorrow. Good.
Wow, 81 out there. Wow. Hey, good morning, Troy Sutton. Glad to see you back in with us. Hadn't seen you in a while. Of course, I was out Sunday. Didn't get to get on the lives and everything, so I'd have probably seen you then. But good morning. Glad to have you. Good morning, Joy. Bartlett, glad to have you in with us this morning. All right. Awesome. Awesome. Glad to see everybody coming in. And thanks, Jack, for that awesome weather report. It's always good to hear. And it's always interesting for me to compare uh, you know, where Jack's at to where we're at and kind of see what the weather differences. And it's usually not very much unless they've got something moving in ahead of us. But anyway, let's move right on into today's reality smackdown. U.S. House Republicans passed stopgap bill to fund the government. That's going to, if it goes through, that's going to fund it all the way through to September. There were some who voted against it, but that's because they want them to do their job and actually pass a budget, actually put something together instead of just continuing to kick the can down the road, as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, uh, U.S. agency to make restrictions on helicopters permanent after the Washington midair collision. Probably should have been done long before, but glad they at least got it done in the wake of that tragedy. But anyway, sometimes that's what it takes, unfortunately, is tragedy to make things happen. U.S. Department of Education cut half its staff as Trump eyes shutdown of the department. So, half and half more to go. Uh, Measles case in Texas and New Mexico rise by 28 in 5 days as outbreak spreads. You know, uh, I was thinking because I hadn't remembered hearing. Of course, it was before I was paying attention, but I guess back in 2019, uh, there was a nationwide outbreak of it, and they're acting like it's this, the second coming or the third coming of the plague. Uh, and I agree, Robbie, on that. They just do stopgap after stopgap, and that's all it is. They just keep kicking the can, and it's their way of not really having a budget and being able to spend what they want to, and spend through the roof instead of actually pushing the budget and having to stick to it. But hopefully, we can see some changes in the future. But I ain't counting on it. And good morning, Dyer Family Farm. Good morning, Jack. Glad to have you in with us. Uh, I don't know if you made the weather report. Of course, you made the first one, so that's the most important. But anyway, so yeah, 2019 there was a nationwide outbreak apparently. So prior to uh, you know 2020 and all that. Interesting. But anyway, and for our Philippine friends, former Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte arrested on an ICC warrant for crimes against humanity. So we'll see what happens there. Things over there are a little different than they are over here, and well, things some of them can get a little heavy-handed. But anyway, won't get into that right now. But anyway, that is today's reality smackdown. Things are happening, things are moving. I did also see that I guess Canada in the trade wars, Canada backed off of uh, some of their ideas on the electrical uh, stuff after anyway back and forth. They got it done. But anyway, so yeah, moving on. This day in history, 1850, the first U.S. $20 gold piece was issued. That'd be nice, something cool to have. I mean, besides, it's worth a lot of damn money, but I mean, it's just be kind of cool. Uh, 1868, U.S. Congress abolishes the manufacturer's tax. This could possibly be the only time that the Congress of our country has abolished a tax. I don't know. Seems I wish they could learn. Go back and read some history. Figure out how to do it. Uh, no kidding, right there, Robbie. Wouldn't it be nice if we were about to run out of money, we could just use somebody else's money to cover us however we wanted? No kidding, right? I mean, think about this: if we ran our businesses or our personal stuff the way the government does, not only would we be bankrupt, we'd probably be in jail. So maybe they need to take note. Maybe some of them need to go there. But anyway, 1894, Coca-Cola is sold in bottles for the first time in a candy store in Vicksburg, Mississippi. Cool. Yeah, in 1933, Franklin D. Roosevelt conducts his first fireside chat as U.S. president via radio, speaking directly to 60 million listening Americans 8 days after his inauguration. Interesting. 1951, comic strip Dennis the Menace first appears in the British comic magazine The Beano. So, Dennis the Menace, pretty old now, still a kid. 1959, the U.S. House joins the Senate, approving Hawaii statehood. And so, let's see. We're going to jump way forward because, man, the stuff in between 59 and 2002, just meh. Animated film Ice Age. Everybody likes that. I love it. Directed by Chris Wedge, was voiced as Dennis Leary, John Louis Leguizamo premieres. Anyway, who all's in it doesn't matter. Ice Age, cool. 2003, Elizabeth Smart found after having been missing for 9 months. And 2019, some of y'all may remember this. Dozens charged in a U.S. college admissions scandal by U.S. federal prosecutors, and included some pretty famous celebrities at the time. But anyway, there you go. That's this day in history. A few interesting things back in the day, but nothing. Seems like the news headlines, the history headlines in the last 20 to 40 years. Man, you got to really look to find outside of sports. You got to look to find something good. It sometimes gets challenging, but and innovation. Anyway. I'll get off that soapbox because we got other things to talk about today. Because today's topic of the day is under attack. Who's the target and why? So I was going to do this yesterday, but something else kind of got me going yesterday as far as about life being hard. And you know what, life is, but we're going to get on with it because that's what you do each and every day. But who's under attack and why? Who's the target? Well, I'm going to tell you who the target is. The target is honestly us. The target is free thinking Americans. The target is independent people who uh, um, don't need the government or don't want the government's assistance for every little thing, don't want the government involved in every little thing. But we're going to go through some cases where state and local and federal governments, and honestly, even maybe some small independent people that are just going along to get along, they don't ever question or challenge because, well, that's what they told us we have to do. But the first thing up is we're going to go, and I'm going to start with this one. This is a local, more of a local story. And this again is a uh, Joel Salatin story, and I'm gonna share the screen and scroll along because I did not get this over to a readable sheet. But anyway, this is on his authority. It's titled "By What Authority?" It's on his blog. He went to a county board zoning hearing, spoke on behalf of a friend. Anyway, elderly parents in their 80s, needful of care. So his friend's wife and him sold their home in another city, bought an RV, moved it next to the parents' house, and been providing care since. Last fall, they started having trouble with the zoning department. Turns out in their county, you can't live in an RV as your domicile. You can park it, you can park 40 of them, but you can't just live in it. Said many in their county live in RVs, but as long as a busybody neighbor doesn't complain, the powers that be leave them alone. They only enforce the regulation if there's a complaint. Said apparently this board was pretty condescending. I said, you have enough land there to build a house. And as I always said, why? They're living in an RV, they're debt free. They're not going to live there after his parents pass. They're going to sell the place, move back to where they've been. So anyway, but the board's willing to send the sheriff with guns to evict them because of a technical violation. And get this, the couple presented 17 letters of support from neighbors. And the board said there's nothing we can do because the law is the law, said the county attorney and the appeals board. It's unconscionable our county would turn this couple out in the street after they put their life equity to plan to keep the parents out of an institution. And he goes on, and which have you not heard Joel's biblical reason for government or what he interprets? And I agree, is clear: a terror to evil and an encourager of righteousness. In this case, their local government is a terror to righteousness and an encourager of evil. This kind of jackbooted, heavy-handed thuggery that makes people despise the government. And if it's a bad law, it should be changed or defied. But anyway, the board members, the appeals board, who's there to mitigate these situations, all express sympathy, but our hands are tied. Joel says, no, they're not. They could call off this zoning dogs and could demand that the supervisors revise the law or grant an exception. But anyway, uh, the elderly woman said, that her and her husband lived in the county all their life, always paid their bills, helped neighbors in need, and never had to grovel for anything. And now at this stage in our life, we have to grovel. Um, and anyway, so as long as we see you trying to work, we'll be lenient. But anyway, where I'm going to go back to that, and when I say under attack, here's good morning, Rebecca. Touch my yarn. Glad to see you in with us. Here's the deal. Here's a zoning thing. Now, it said that this is a county ordinance that is only enforced if somebody complains. But they got a letter from 17 friends and neighbors supporting them, saying, in support of. So who was the complaintee, allegedly? And, what happened to right to face your accusers, you know, um, so they know who it is. Now, my speculation, and this is solely speculation, if there's a complainant, an actual complainer, A, they're in the zoning and they happen to see it, or B, uh, somebody went to the county to get permission or asked if they could put an RV or a travel trailer or whatever, and were told no because it was against ordinance. And then they see others doing it or they see this and make a complaint. But what really kind of hacked me off with this was just the disregard, the unwillingness to consider situations, and what's the point of having an appeals board? But more importantly, there's an ordinance in a county that tells people what they can't do on their own property. Um, and by, to what end? It's just more control. Somebody said, "Oh, we don't want RV park. We don't want, trying to. I don't want that next to my property or whatever." And they get ordinances passed because friends know friends, and next thing you know, you got a problem on your hands. And but it just it's at a local level, and that's where we need to pay most attention to anyway, because things in your city and county governments, even the state, those are the things that directly impact you. But here's a couple. Now I would submit, even here's a family that's doing everything they can to stay out of the nursing homes and off government out of the institutions, doing things the old traditional way where family is taking care of loved ones. And believe me, it's something that's I understand the pain of having to have family in a facility because of inability to take care of them. And it is a challenge. But I just think that sometimes there's that situation. So there's a situation of government, what I call overreach, far exceeding ordinances and regulations. And what I've noticed, in county and city governments in particular, even state, but definitely county and city, is that they don't enforce them. is that we just don't know what's going on. They don't always post. They're not required to post what's going on, what they're going to be talking about. Many of them do. Uh, and I agree with this. Scotty says, if it's from Lone Cross, Scotty said, if it's your property, you should be able to do what you want. 100% agree. I 100% agree. But what I will tell you is that it's not. We all know it's not that case, particularly if you live in a city or municipality, or in this case, a county. Uh, anyway, and it's going on, and it's like having an HOA. Nobody should be able to tell me what I can do on my property as long as it's not hurting others. Exactly, as long as it's not a danger to anybody around, as long as it's not, and environmental, i.e., water and sewage, that type of things, and it's not hurting anybody. I agree, 100%. That's why, honestly, I moved where I moved. My property is technically inside the town limits. My At the end of my driveway, when I hit the road, it's county property, but or half county, half city. But I'm in a little bitty town that you could. The list of ordinances this town has is pretty slim, and that's why I moved here, and that's why most people move out into the country, is to get away from that. But here's the case, and like I said, I think it's ridiculous, and I think but that's why we need to be involved. Even in the bigger towns, something will happen, and then people find out about it, and they get upset. They're like, "Well, you should have been at the meeting. If you were at the meetings, you would know." And that's a condescending attitude. It's a bullcrap attitude, but at the same token, there's some truth to that, because people don't go to city council meetings. People don't go to county board meetings, or in our case, where our county commissioners, our county judges and stuff meet. We don't go. We find out about it in the paper, if it's in the paper or some other news outlet. We find out it when we violate something and they're in there writing a fine or they're showing up on our door. That's when we find out about it. And so being involved locally, but it happens even at the local, and you get HOA mindsets. You get these people that, they're so worried about what their neighbors are doing instead of just minding their own business, which is what people used to do when it came to stuff like that. My neighbor next door, he scraps metal. He's an older gentleman and retiree, and he scraps metal and stuff for side money, and he builds up. Be honest with you, it's a mess over there on his property. It's an organized mess, but it's a mess. Do I always like looking at it? Does my wife like looking at it? No, but that's on his side of the fence, and this is where and so you know, he's able to do that, and that's part of living out here. Just like I've got my little junk pile. Nobody says nothing about that. So that's that one. Now the next two I'm going to get the other people who I think are under attack, and that is the faith community. This particular story is about the Amish, but because I think they are definitely under attack and have been for some time, and it only gets worse. Uh, and and here's the thing. This is what it is. This is not from Amish America, which is an interesting little page. I'm going to save actually as to a fair. I'm going to keep reading them. But anyway, court, no vaccine exemption for Amish children. Amish fined $118,000. This was a March 5th article. I had heard about it via Doug and Stacy. But anyway, federal appeals court upheld a decision requiring Amish schools children to be vaccinated in New York. These are not Amish children who attend public schools. Amish children attend Amish-owned and operated schools, so they're not in the public, in that sense. The court ruled religious objections do not work here, according to the Second Circuit Court ruling. New York state law requiring Amish students to receive vaccines does not violate those students' constitutional rights. Second Circuit panel ruled Monday. The case, which the panel heard this past November, has been brought by 3 Amish schools, fined in 2019. So it's been an ongoing fight for 5 years for failing to comply with state-mandated school vaccines. The schools and Amish parents argued their First and 14th Amendment rights have been violated, as many Amish seek to live separately from the modern world and abhor vaccines. State determined that it's okay to spare a child for the sake of their immune system, but it's not okay to spare a vaccine for the sake of their soul, the plaintiff's attorney, Shannon Grimble, told the panel Monday. And that's the kind of value judgment the First Amendment does not allow. That's right. They don't get to determine what it says freedom of religion. Anyway, so they basically what's going on there. And this goes all the way back to, as I said, that measles outbreak that happened in 2019. Uh, and anyway, following a nationwide measles outbreak in 1819, the legislature removed those exemptions, joining 4 other states to prohibit any kind of non-medical exemption. They found themselves being heavily fined. Anyway, it's crazy. Apparently, a judge recommended the fines not be imposed due to lack of adequate notice, but New York State Department of Health rejected this minimum. So again, unelected officials in a department, doing it. And anyway, so they're saying that the Wisconsin versus Yoder case doesn't work. Would not forcibly remove Amish children from the community at the expense of the Amish faith or the Amish way of life. Part of the court's argument is religious exemption is in some sense too broad, at least compared to the medical exemption. Uh, to specifically while lyrics apply to all vaccines, sweep had a far greater ability to undermine the state's interest in preventing the spread of disease. Anyway, so yeah, it's New York has the 5th largest population, around 25,000 people. Multiple communities affected. So anyway, that's what's happening. And Ed's that's exactly why I'm moving to Oklahoma. Freedom. That's what Ed Kirkpatrick said. And I want to tell you, Ed, I'm glad you have that. A lot of people are moving here from East Coast, West Coast for the same reasons. And I don't think you're in this crowd, Ed. So when I say this is not directed at you at all because I don't feel like you're in this category. But there's a lot of people that move out here to Texas, Oklahoma, and these places, and they bring their ways with them. And they try, the very things they go out to get away from, they come down here. And that goes to this about people minding their own business. And Scotty's, we don't care, or not Scotty, but Robbie's, we don't care what they're doing until it adversely affects us. Um, and I'm gonna tell you, like I said, Ed, I don't think that's you, but a lot of them come in and they want to pass these same little HOA and ordinances in these little towns and do all this stuff to make it like it was where they came from, instead of realizing, no, you moved here, and you moved here for a reason. And so, but I think we've got a lot of transplants, as I like to call them, people that have moved in from out of state to get away from these things, and glad to have them. But this thing with the no vaccine exemption for the Amish goes back to what I'm saying. The Amish are under attack. They're under attack in this bird flu alleged outbreak. It's my belief. If you look at who most of the large flocks where these clusters of bird flu are at, yeah. So I'll get that in just a minute, Jack. That's a great comment. But they're under attack, and I think the religious community, the faith community, is going to continue to be under attack because we stand for something. Now, my reason that I think the Amish are actually getting and have been is because that is the largest example. That's the largest group of individuals that is a collective community. And I'm going to get to your comments, Scotty, as well here in just a minute. But they are the largest example. They're the biggest beacon of life without the federal government, life without the state governments. They go in every day. They work hard. They stay to themselves, educate themselves in their schools. They live apart, but they also live. They stand up in the way that their old ways of doing things, that you don't need the government to do to everything. And if a government wants to control their population and they want all these narratives about vaccines and narratives about outbreaks and narratives about this and that, and here's this community that is living separate for that, and they're prospering and doing well and living healthy as a general rule, that's a black eye that stands out against big pharma, that stands out against the corporate culture, and they become a target and they become under attack. And I will submit that more and more the religious faith community is going to be under attack for very similar reasons, that we don't go along with the narratives and stuff like that. Now, I'll admit, in 2020, I was quite disheartened at the number of people who went along with everything and just followed along by example. Now, this is about Ed. I know it's about Ed Kirkpatrick. He said, haven't shaken his hand myself. I know he's not in that category, but man, we're overrun with them. And that's right. That's why I was saying it. I know Ed's not in that category. But yeah, you're right. We're overrun. Uh, Scotty said they should not force you to do what against your beliefs, and to find them is actually to him extortion. And I would not disagree. I think that's leverage. They use that as leverage to make you comply. And I hope they continue to fight it. And let's see, Robbie said lots of people have left California. Some of it's to get away from the mess. Some of it is to push those voters to other states. I would concede that Colorado is a prime example of a state that's been taken over. The Austin, Dallas, Houston area, another prime example in the Texas area that has been really kind of overrode and really just been taken over by that method of voting. In California, Colorado is probably the most egregious, just obvious example that I know of that once conservative naturalist has now got these people that have just come in and brought all that with them, and they've totally changed that state. And not just from not just from a political standpoint, but just from a cultural standpoint. Uh, and I was worried that our government would have taken away my disability money since I did not get the jab. Rebecca, I don't want to feed, I don't like feeding fear or using fear mongering, but I can understand that as maybe a very real concern, especially the direction they were going during that time and how they were being with their overreach and their forced mandate of that. Because plenty of people were losing their jobs for the very same thing. So I can understand that concern. And again, that's government overreach. And I want to bring you one more uh, case, and this could directly affect all of us in the homesteading community. So I want you to hear this next one. I'm going to go through it briefly. Um, let's see where I'm at. I scrolled earlier. Okay. Uh, This is from Holly Hickman. So the other morning, my phone blared, jolted me out of my reading. Friend trying to save money on eggs. It just texted. Went to buy some chicks from a major national feed store chain, and they insisted on gathering all my information, including my home address, for a chicken registry. The lady was very insistent and double checked that the address was real. It was a little disturbing, yeah, and I'll say. So Holly called the store in question. The woman who answered confirmed that they are required to collect the home address of anyone purchasing chicks there. Her store had been collecting addresses since 2022. It's because of the bird flu, she says. The government wants to be able to contact anyone if there's an outbreak. Sound familiar? So she reached out to the national headquarters of the chain. So far, no response. But she also reached out to the USDA. USDA is not aware of this, an official responded, and it is not mandated by USDA. After further digging, it seems that registration rules are set by each state. I'm not going to click on Maryland's rules, for example, but seems like that this chicken registry is state by state. So again, it goes back to what I'm saying. Closer to your government, local government has a lot of immediate effect on you that the federal government may not. So what's behind this? Although USDA is not mandating registration, federal government is quite keen to monitor both large chicken farms and backyard flocks. So here was a sample of the bird flu outbreak. Commercial flocks 59, backyard flocks 54. Birds affected 12.67 million. So there you go. USDA invests up to $1 billion to combat avian influenza and reduce egg prices. That was announced by USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins. $1 billion five-approach government plan to count every bird in America. Not exactly what it said, but that's the implication. They long expressed desire to register every livestock animal in the country. And as Joel said, this USDA plan has big government written all over it, especially as the PCR test for bird flu is set at 45. And as I've shared, Joel says at that magnification, you can find bird flu on your dining room table. But anyway, audits will be expanded. Free biosecurity audits will continue for all HPI affected farms. So again, they're going to come and inspect. Not counting taxpayer dollars involved in this $1 billion plan, the government will visit your backyard and possibly decimate your little flock for free. Yes, decimate. So far, the MO is to kill off healthy birds, keep them from getting sick. Anyway, if you want the happy government visits to remain free, shortcomings of my farms must be addressed. Uh, You have to treat your flock for whatever new therapeutic they deem most helpful, i.e., a new vaccine or anything. Targeted and thoughtful strategy. Anyway, yeah. So, I mean, details this issue about mRNA. But anyway, biosecurity over therapeutics, but such vaccines do exist. All government flock partying may, like if some homesteaders are back here feeling alone and abandoned. It's not a great government biosecurity tour. Your personal visit will be made you. So anyway, so yeah, it's. I'm going to go back and stop sharing this. That right there is uh, one of the concerns is, and the thing is this bird flu and this registry. When I read that this, it's a state by state thing. I'm like, again, there's another example of overreach. There's another example of, that they want to register every chicken in their backyard flock, and they want all this stuff. And these, it's just government and too much of our business. Now Jack writes this. I believe not entirely, but in part, higher education has created a bunch of gimme liberals, and they want all of us to be that way. I'd say that's fair, Jack. I'd say that's a fair assessment. And they do want to be in every part of our lives, and they do want to be us to be dependent upon them. And so that's why more and more we're going to see. I believe the homestead community. I believe the farm community, ranch. The small farmer, the small rancher, the homestead community, homesteaders, people of religious faith who exercise their faith, and any of that stuff that runs contrary to the overall narrative in the government is going to become increasingly under attack. And I just went through 3 different levels. One at over in the Amish, as well as at just a local county, and then as a state registry. 3 different examples. Hey, Ed, see you all soon. Yes. You have a good day. Glad to have you in with us, buddy, and we will see you soon. Of course, I'll be back. I'll be every morning until then on Monday through Friday, but we'll see you out on the socials. But yes, we will definitely see you at Okie Expo. And as he says, the sun is cracking in the East Coast over there, but I do need to wrap this up. I just looked up at the clock. I knew this subject was going to go long. But that's why I think we're under attack, and I think who's the target, and I think the why. The who's the target is the ones I mentioned: small farmers, homesteaders, ranchers, people who don't need the government, and people who are of religious and faith and who don't buy into that. And I think that's who the targets are. And the why is for the very reason that if we're doing those things, we cannot be controlled, and we're not dependent upon them for every little thing in our life, and we're not giving in to the pressure. So I will say is fight, fight, fight. Resist all that where you can. Don't play into their hands, and stand strong wherever necessary. But anyway, there is today's topic of the day. So let's move right along. I'm going to wrap this short again today because the clock. I need to get ready and get out of here. But anyway, tip of the day. The best way to appreciate your job is to imagine your life without one. That was from Oscar Wilde. So yeah, and I know some people know what that feels like already. They'd gladly go back to their jobs if they could. So upcoming events, of course, as was just mentioned by Mr. Ed Kirkpatrick, Okie Homestead Expo next week. March 21st and 22nd, Mays County Fairground, Pryor, Oklahoma. Congratulations to Clyde and Stacy. That's let's have a cup of coffee and Smiley Matthews, our good friends there. Congratulations to them via coffee with Bible and coffee with Jack over there. I know I'm going to get that wrong, but anyway, Jack Dyer Family Farm, all that bunch there. Anyway, they won the 2 free tickets last night, and gave them to their friends Clyde and Stacy so that they could come to the Okie Expo. So super excited about that. So anyway, that was a great deal last night. Appreciate everybody tuning in for that. So we will be seeing a lot of people next Friday and Saturday, next Thursday for some of us as we get there to set up. I know Robbie's going to be there Wednesday. I know Ed said he was leaving out Sunday. making the drive. So anyway, and the weekend following, Arkansas Homesteading Conference, March 29th, Cleveland County Fairgrounds, Rising, Arkansas. And April 12th, New Beginnings Homestead Expo, New Beginnings Church, Nowata, Oklahoma. There's quite a few coming up in April, and I'll begin to announce them as we get closer. Of course, the 10 Killer YouTube meetup, April 25th through 27th. Lake 10 Killer, Oklahoma, Cherokee Landing State Park, Creek Shelter, RSVP, 10 Killer YT meetup at gmail.com. I will tell you, I've started reading this, but this all these events takes up 2 to 3 pages. But I like that, Scotty. I'm going to share it. We all stand strong together as one. We shall defeat the evils of the government. I believe that. One of our founding fathers said, if we don't hang together, we'll surely hang separately. And I hope that day never comes here. But yes, it does take people standing together, to affect the changes of government. The more people are together, the better it's going to be. Anyway, folks, that is a wrap for today on the Farm to Table Direct Show Morning Edition. Thanks for joining us as we explore headlines, stories, and more that are impacting our world today and beyond. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channels on Facebook, YouTube, X, and Rumble. It is the best way to stay connected and help grow the conversation about food, farming, and the community. Until next time, keep your roots deep and your vision growing. Good food starts with great people just like you. And remember, we are #stronger together. And be a blessing to someone today. We will definitely, yes, Jack, see you Thursday. But of course, we will be back in. The morning show is going to keep going. We're not going to have a Tuesday night this next week of the Farm to Table Direct Show. Just everything getting ready to go to Okie, and that takes up a lot of our time, as well as some other things we've got to button up. But anyway, everybody have a blessed day. Be a blessing to ones. Enjoy this beautiful weather we're having. And folks, we'll see you on the other side tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. And anyway, I'm going to hand this over to Hank, get us on out of here. Everybody have a blessed day.
No humans were harmed in the production of this podcast.